So I'm here with Lester Conway, new acting director of the Government Security Bureau. Can you just give a brief introduction?
Yeah, hello, I'm Lester Conway. I've been appointed interim security director for the Government Security Bureau, and help here today because I'd like to, talk about the Government Security Bureau and address some of the questions that have been asked.
Okay, well, the first question is, can you discuss how your experience in the industry will inform your approach on leading the Bureau to making critical decisions?
I was in the Los Santos Sheriff's Department for, not all in one tenure, but close to 2 years.
So what
yes.
experience is it you have that you think you're suitable for this position?
Well, I'd say first of all, I spent 9 months within the Bureau in the first place, and I started off as a junior agent. I didn't come in as a supervisor, so I've experienced all the different ranks within the Bureau and the daily workings of the Bureau and the struggles that agents face and the issues within the Bureau that need to be addressed and changed and improvements to be made. That's the first thing. Like you said, I spent roughly 2 years in the Los Santos Sheriff's Department. Because of that, in my time there, I had a lot of training and experience within law enforcement to a very high level due to the Los Santos Sheriff's Department's incredible training division. And, it's shown me, what law enforcement should be. It's taught me the basics like CPR, courtesy, professionalism, respect, and, all of those good things, that I want to take from that division of the government and implement into GSB or improve on GSB what we've already got. But you've asked me, what makes me relevant to lead the Bureau. I think it's important, especially when making critical decisions, to get second opinions on things, and the fact that I've got such a strong supervisory and command team, especially with Gareth Longford returning to the Bureau, still staying at Metro. We've got a very strong supervisory team that's got a vast wealth of knowledge, all of them previously law enforcement, from different aspects, some detectives, some Metro, and then that, gives a lot of different insight that, I wouldn't be able to achieve on my own.
What are your immediate priorities for enhancing the effectiveness of security protocols?
I'm looking to immediately overhauling the current agent training procedures and rebuilding it from the ground up. I believe that in its current state, it's been, laid out by people who've been previous law enforcement and, take some of the knowledge that they have for granted. And because of that, it skips over some basic skills that, your average civilian who's coming into the Bureau wouldn't have in their skill set. And therefore, it's a bit of a hole within the training and within the procedures. So I'm looking at overhauling it and building it from the ground up. So, anyone who gets hired in the Bureau, if they're law enforcement or not, it can improve their skills that they already have from law enforcement, from their previous background. Or if it's someone who's never had a job of this kind whatsoever, it can teach them the basics and, make a real good agent out of them that, can respond to any situation if needed. Major focus is on what I'm wanting to train. Communication, I think, is something that's very important, especially, if we are working with other government agencies, we've got to have a good standard and be on par with them. So I'm looking to improve our communication skills via training. And thanks to Gareth coming on and his vast knowledge from his time in Metro, I'm looking to improve some more of the more tactical side of things in terms of, how to spot potential threats, as well as how to clear buildings or rooms of any threats within them.
Is that the kind of thing you guys face often, or is it a just-in-case kind of training?
I think it's got to be a hope for the best, plan for the worst kind of deal, but it's something that could potentially happen. Situations that have happened in the past, I wouldn't say it's frequent, but it's something that has happened, and it's something that should be improved on, so we can deal with the situations effectively if it does come up again.
So you mentioned about redoing your training program for new agents. This is sort of a two-part question. So is there any training that existing employees of GSB get? And also, is there any plans for evolving the programs to meet security threats as new ones come in?
Oh, definitely. It's something that we've always got to be proactively upgrading and reworking. And, you know, if with the major changes that I'm planning on implementing because of how different the training is going to be, I think it's worth definitely putting all our agents through it. Even if it's skills that they already know, you know, it's always good to keep practicing and improving and honing your skills to improve and be better.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's good that people, but you don't want people to get complacent with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you can have security breaches, I guess. Okay, moving on. I recently made a suggestion to you and several other government employees about a potential uniform change for a better public image. For example, you know, currently agents go along with government officials in their full gear with armored vests and everything, looking more tactical, but like showing up at events in them. And personally, I didn't think that was a good look. And my suggestion was that a uniform like the one you're wearing or similar with the holsters and something a bit more casual might upgrade the image of GSB. Is that anything that's being considered currently?
That is something that was being thoroughly discussed even before you raised it, actually. The second I got into a command position of the acting deputy director. It's something that we're currently planning on implementing. Essentially what we would have is, based on the current threat levels to the San Andreas state government and City Hall, obviously, as well, if we're in an operation, it would be different, but for day-to-day use, based on the known threats to SASG and its employees would affect what uniform we're wearing. So if we're at a high, you know, threat level, like we've had lockdowns in the past, yeah, we're going to be wearing our full tactical gear. But, you know, when we're on a lower threat level, there's not much risk to City Hall or its employees. It's going to be a lot more casual clothing, and I think that's important because quite often GSB agents are the first people you see when you come into City Hall. We don't want to intimidate people, and we want to be welcoming and be able to assist with their needs and, you know, not scare anyone off.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I'd envision would definitely help you guys, which is why I brought it up initially and just wondered if there was any progress with that. You mentioned threat levels. Is that something set by you guys at GSB or by higher ups or what?
I can't go into much detail with it, but it's
naturally
based off the, you know, the information that we receive from, you know, other agencies like the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department, you know, with their investigations into, you know, organizations that potentially might want to hurt us, as well as, you know, just our own, you know, but it's also looking at, you know, recent reports. So every time, you know, an incident occurs in City Hall, we write reports for it. And that gets monitored, and, you know, we track it, and if we see a sudden influx in it, and, you know, there's an issue that's occurring, that could affect it. But it's a group decision, essentially, by the Government Security Bureau and the higher-ups within the San Andreas state government as a whole, because it's a balancing act. You know, we want to be able to keep everyone safe, but at the same time, you know, when we're on maximum security and it's a lockdown, it's very inconvenient for people. We don't want to stop them from having business in City Hall.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was looking for. Is this threat level, is it a variable thing? Is it just we're on high alert, we're on low alert, or is it like an explicit red, amber, green, or something similar to what DLC has?
So it's pretty similar to DLC, but, you know, it's not something that we publicly show. It's, you know, the most you're going to see is, you know, lockdown, which would obviously be the highest level.
So I mean more, is it like an explicit tiered structure with like this threat level results in these kind of security measures, this threat level results in these other security measures, or is it just sort of by word of mouth?
Oh, like there's a tiered structure, yeah.
One of the major concerns, criticisms, whatever you want to call it, that's been brought up against GSB is the accountability. Now, there's been some claims, substantiated or not, I don't know, but there's been some claims of some agents going rogue, some of unfair hiring procedures, that sort of thing. How will you, being the director, how will you be able to hold GSB agents accountable for each other and hold yourself accountable as well?
Oh, I've not personally heard any of these rumors or allegations that you're talking of. But at the beginning of my tenure, the first thing I did, essentially, was I sent out a notice to all agents, and I basically informed them we're going to be getting a lot stricter with our procedures, with everything, and people are going to be held accountable for their mistakes and their actions, and it's going to result in more serious disciplinary action, whether that be dismissal, demotion, or whatever it is. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis. You know, it's something that's very important to me, and that's literally the first thing I did at the beginning of my tenure. I can personally promise to the public that, you know, any incidents that I would be there for, that, you know, I see agents who are not doing things correctly, who are, you know,
Misbehaving.
yeah, essentially. I mean, like I say, it's not something that I've had to encounter myself yet. It's nothing I've had to have an issue with. But, you know, if that were to ever arise, which I don't think it will, you know, I would be coming down on them very strictly because, as I stated to you earlier, you know, public image in GSB is very important to me, and it's something that, you know, is not at a high point right now. I think your poll has clearly shown that, and it's something I'm wanting to improve. And, you know, I think to do that, we've got to become very strict, and accountability is very important. However, you know, anything I'm not there for, we've got a fantastic IA team within the San Andreas state government. I would strongly suggest, if anyone feels like they've been wronged by an agent, or an agent is in the wrong, to get their badge number. They are required to wear a body cam at all times, and are required to give a badge number upon request, and the incident would be thoroughly investigated, and necessary disciplinary action would be handed out if needed.
So just to confirm, they should go through the government, the state government internal affairs process to
yeah, that's correct.
Raise a complaint.
At the end of the day, we are in a position of power, and it's important, you know, to make sure that people aren't abusing that power. So accountability is vital.
So what's your vision for the role of government agents within, like, the broader context of the state government? How do you see your role evolving in the future, or do you see it as just a constant fixed role?
I think it's important to remember why GSB was founded in the first place. It was primarily, and is primarily, a security agency. I believe, you know, we've got to keep this in mind when making changes and improvements within the Bureau, that we're not trying to become the new LSPD or the new LSSD, and we're not trying to replace them. Yeah, I think our role is security, and I think we need to get to a point where, you know, our role is complementing what the LSPD do and the LSSD do. The primary role of an agent is to protect the San Andreas state government, the judicial branch, and, you know, its employees and its properties. I do believe, though, you know, I know a lot of people have raised questions about it. You know, are we police officers? And no, we're not. But, you know, we are sworn in. I think, as it stands currently, we are in a trial phase with agents being able to make arrests. I am planning on taking it out of that trial phase to a point where, you know, after completing the necessary training, every agent would be able to place charges. But I think it's got to be very strictly monitored, because it's essentially, we should only be placing charges if it is to aid with security, essentially. You know, we're not sat there investigating. We're not, you know, regular law enforcement. The only time we should be doing it is to aid doing our regular duties. A caveat to that would be, you know, if it's a blatant crime being committed in front of us, you know, if it's something that a citizen could complete a citizen's arrest for, you know, if someone's actively holding a gun to a member of the public's head or whatever, you know, while we're out, if we can ensure safety for all of the government officials that we're with, I would obviously strongly want my agents to take action to, you know, prevent the loss of life, and to get involved in that situation.
Okay. In those scenarios, would you guys be taking them to Mission Row or DOC yourselves, or has that not been ironed out yet, or would it be a handover process to LSPD and LSSD?
Current process is we would be the ones placing charges. We would do the arrest report and everything, and then, as it is in its current state, we hand them over to either LSSD or LSPD based on which bureau we're in. But, you know, potentially that might change in the future. We'll see.
And are all of your agents sworn in?
All agents are sworn in, but not all of them are able to place charges. So they can all detain. And, you know, if an agent detains someone and they're unable to place charges, they'd radio for an agent who can. Or if there's none available, that's when they'd radio for LSPD or LSSD.
Gotcha. Okay. And is it a requirement that every agent has to be sworn in, or is it a choice, or is it a rank thing?
It's,
or is it a thing done upon hiring?
Completion of training.
Okay, gotcha. So this is a bit of a touchy question. People that don't take GSB seriously, they don't recognize it as sworn in officers or anything serious. Is there anything you've got in the works, or any plans you have as director to address the public concerns of this, that that it's not a serious bureau. Like some people throw around the word mall cops, other things like that. Is there anything in the works for handling that PR side of things?
I mean, I will be the first to admit, the Government Security Bureau throughout its existence has had issues in the past. But I also think, people would struggle to name another, government agency, when they were first being founded that didn't share, some of the same issues and controversy. I mean, I remember when the Los Santos Sheriff's Department was first founded, the LSPD wanted nothing to do with it. They didn't want it to exist, and they wanted to be the sole, law enforcement agency. And now look where they are, working perfectly side by side. I definitely think these issues, that happened earlier on in GSB have improved in recent times compared to what they were previously. However, I do think that there is still improvements to be made. And I hope to improve public opinion over time. However, that's done with actions, not words. So, I hope to change.
Well, I mean, you're here giving this interview, which I think is a step in the right direction. Bit of transparency.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, throughout my tenure, people's minds will change. And I think, I can't do that just by talking to people or even doing this interview. I think it's going to be, improved with actions and an improvement made to the Bureau. So I'd just say, watch this space, basically.
Okay. So back on the topic of internal problems, what's your current strategy for dealing with internal issues? So allegations of misconduct or abuse of authority within the Bureau. So you mentioned people should go to IA, but where does it go from there? Because a lot of people don't really understand the inner workings of it. So of what you can tell me, what is the process of that, of how a decision would eventually get made based on severity?
Like I say, I don't handle internal affairs personally, if they're submitting it through the IA system. But, if I'm seeing something myself, it would be a decision up to the supervisor or command member in the moment. If it's going through IA, it would be going through a joint decision between the internal affairs team of the San Andreas State Government. But as I stated before, I put a notice out that, the Bureau is going to be getting a lot stricter on things, and punishments will be stricter because, as you said, public image and accountability, is very important, and it's something that I'm looking to improve. And because of this, I think, we've got to definitely, take a, not rule with an iron fist, but, become a lot stricter with it. And I would say, because I'm wanting to improve the public image, say an allegation got made against a police officer, the equivalent, complaint got made against an agent. I think GSB is going to be, for the time being, probably handing out stricter disciplinary action just because of the fact that it is an issue right now with public image, and I'm wanting to improve that and have as few issues as possible. So I'm hoping by being stricter with it, it's going to be a deterrent.
Maybe make an example of someone if someone does mess up majorly to then deter other people from doing it.
But I mean, like I said previously, I'm not saying that it's a frequent thing that agents are doing stuff. It's not something that I've seen within my time in the Government Security Bureau. But I think we definitely need to be strict on things if it does come up, because like I say, I want to keep a handle on it. I want to improve public image, and if we're brushing stuff under the carpet and allowing agents to get away with things, that's not going to help in that aspect. So okay. Like I say, very strict on it, and it might be that some agents feel it's unfair, but I think it's a necessary thing that needs to be done, being on the strictest.
Yeah, I agree with that. The GSB have access to a variety of weapons. Some have been seen with quite heavy weaponry. How is that gated? Is it like certain things are locked behind certain ranks or trainings, or how is that handled?
Rank, authority, and training certifications.
Who handles the training certifications?
We've got an internal training division within the Government Security Bureau, so we've got set procedures that say, right, at this rank, you're able to apply for this certification. And then there's a small theory side behind it, and then a practical, and it's very strict on when you can deploy it and when you can't deploy it, etc.
Is that tied to the previously mentioned threat system, or is there plans to tie it in with that?
I mean, there's some ties to it, but it's also a case by case.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it could be in the moment a supervisor would call for it, or etc.
Yeah, okay, so I mean more for general patrol, you know, like general, I don't know what you call it, but general duties, like if someone has access to, for example, I don't know what weapons you have, but say they have access to an SMG, would they be expected to walk around with it all the time? Would it be at their discretion? Would it be based on other factors?
It's partly agent discretion, mostly the supervisor on shift's discretion. But there's also some. I'm not going to go into details, but yes, the threat levels affect it. But overall, they shouldn't be carrying them 24/7. Like I say, we don't want to be seen as intimidating. If someone's coming into City Hall and you see someone in full, tactical gear and a giant shotgun on their back, it's not very inviting. As I said, agents are often the first thing people see when they come into City Hall, and we want to be inviting. Like I said, being strict on it, if agents are seen doing that when there's no tactical reason or thought behind why they have that out, we would be punishing them, with disciplinary action.
Okay, yeah. Going back to things that the members of the public have raised, one criticism that was a frequent one is that GSB, quote, stand around and do nothing, end quote. Could you shed some light on the different activities that GSB do in sort of downtime when there's no specific government workers to follow? Or
obviously an agent's primary job is going to be for security. When no government officials need protecting, GSB agents can conduct perimeter checks around City Hall, both on foot and in vehicles. They can also travel to other locations owned by the San Andreas state government, ensuring they are secure, doing perimeter checks around those locations.
Just to clarify on that point, do you mean like specifically state government buildings that the state would use, or could this include things like Weasel News, DCC, LSC?
This is the administrative branch of the state government.
Yes, I just thought I'd clarify that.
Again, we're quite often the first thing people see when you come into City Hall, so it's also an agent's job to sometimes, greet people, any kind of general questions that, is not very, advanced bureau-specific stuff, they try and assist with that. And if not able to, radioing for the relevant people to come to the lobby and assist them. Also, the majority of GSB agents currently have secondary assignments in other bureaus. That's not to say that, they're going to have the same in-depth training and knowledge as, potentially someone who's in the bureau full-time, but, they can help with other government officials with duties and writing stuff up to assist, that bureau that they're in.
Okay, so I knew about that, but people watching might not. So, if it is a quiet day or something, a GSB agent could be a part of, say, San Andreas Aviation Administration or the Property and Housing Bureau or something, and do work for that in the downtime.
Yeah, so the stipulation with GSB is GSB has to remain your primary bureau. So, say you are in the office writing paperwork up for AB or the Department of Economic Development, and a radio call comes in that there is a threat or there is something happening, obviously the agent would be expected to stop doing paperwork and assist with the issue at hand. But yeah, in downtime when it's quiet, by all means, it's great because it means that they can help out, government officials, take some of the load off their plate by assisting in the relevant secondary assignment bureau that they're in.
Okay, that's really good.
As well as this, though, I'm currently trying to encourage agents to be a bit more proactive when they're on shift. Sometimes, we've got agents that are waiting for, specifically Board of Governors to come and go, oh, can you come with me and do this? When in reality, GSB is for all government officials and JB employees. So I'm trying to encourage agents to be a lot more proactive with it. And, when someone's going out of City Hall saying, hey, I'm available, I'm here to assist if you need. And, then it would be up to the government official if they want to take GSB with them or not. As well as this, I'm also working on implementing training sessions that aren't, as you come in as a new agent, but just something that, could be run at any time to improve and hone the skills of all agents to ensure that, we don't become complacent and, we're in tip-top shape, ready for any kind of security threats that may happen.
Brilliant. Okay, that sounds like that works similar to how DLC used to do things when I was there, with, it's quiet, let's go do some group training or something for either experienced or less experienced people, and yeah. So, can you name any success stories about GSB? Any situations that you think was well handled? To maybe shed some light on some of the good things that you feel like you guys contribute.
I can't go into any specific scenarios either that we handled well or handled poorly, but I will say I think what GSB excel in at the minute, and they've done very well in the past, is situations where extraction's needed, where a government employee is, in a dangerous situation, getting them out of that situation quickly and effectively. I think we excel in very well in previous situations.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was on about, not necessarily any specific situations. That's a good answer. On the contrary to that, is there anything you think could be improved in terms of situations? I can understand if you might not want to answer that, but is there any type of situations that you think the Security Bureau isn't quite equipped to handle yet?
It's, going back into the previous stuff about training, I don't think there's anything, that we damn right can't do, but I think there's areas that we can definitely improve on. Like I say, with Gareth coming to the Bureau, with his vast knowledge of Metro, it's definitely going to help. I think the main thing is, breaching into a room potentially that may have, a threat inside and clearing that out properly. I think there's definitely some room for improvement in terms of training, and that's something we're actively working on and implementing.
Do you think there's any opportunity to work alongside PD, SD, DOC on any joint training potentially? I know all of those have their own facilities. I guess you guys probably do as well. Is that anything that's being considered right now?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I say, I want both our public image to be better, but I also, want to have good relations with other divisions. And there's situations and scenarios that all of them have got, maybe blanket training and they're all equipped to handle, but specifically, Metro might be more equipped one specialized training, whereas DLC and CERT, they've got their convoy training, well developed. And I think there's definitely benefits to working with these other agencies and taking on some of the vast knowledge and skills they've got to improve, and vice versa.
Okay. In the past, government officials have been kidnapped and there's been terror threats made under GSB watch. Is there any steps that you're planning on taking in your new position to prevent this happening again? Obviously, you've mentioned things like improving training and the quality of agents, but is there anything else you think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, I think, overall, I think recruiting more agents, we've got a limited number. We can't be everywhere at one time, so the more agents we have, the more people we can cover and protect at one time if we've got multiple government officials, all over the state. Like I say, reworking the training program and improving procedures from the ground up is definitely going to help with this. And another way I think is going to improve this, like I say, is having agents be more proactive with government officials and JB employees, and hopefully, trying to let the employees themselves know, this is something that you can have. We're here for it, and hopefully they are gonna, have GSB going out with them more often, so it's not, only few people that are getting protected by GSB, and all government officials have got that protection. They've always got someone with them, so they're not vulnerable to an attack, being out on their own.
Who is your deputy director? Do you have one yet?
Yeah, that's Gareth Longford.
Oh, okay. So is he reinstating into that position, or has he moved up into that position?
He has reinstated into that position, just due to his vast knowledge, with his long time in PD, being a command member of Metro, and also because he's the one who initially founded the Government Security Bureau and was originally the director.
Okay.
But no, I'm hoping, into departmental relations are going to be, at an all-time high. I think there's definitely people in the LSPD who have been big supporters of us. Same with the Los Santos Sheriff's Department and DOC for that matter. And I'm hoping to improve relations further and keep developing them.
Perfect.